Hi, it's Katrina. Number 10. The Universe Laboratory. There is no greater mystery in our universe than where we came from. That's to say, what happened before the Big Bang? We know, at least scientists say they know, that the universe started from nothing. A spark in the dark that led to an explosion of material that would form all the known universe and everything in it. But what was before? And is it even possible for such a thing to be born from a vacuum fluctuation? One of the crazier theories, and something that would change everything we know about existence, is that our universe was not the result of the Big Bang. Instead, some believe our entire universe was created in a lab by an advanced civilization. The reasoning is a little far-fetched, but not impossible. Because our universe possesses a flat geometry, scientists say there is a small possibility that an advanced race of beings created the universe using quantum tunneling. This advanced race would have needed to master quantum gravity, quantum mechanics, and every aspect of physics. But it could have been done, meaning our universe is little more than a glob in a petri dish somewhere, perhaps in a lab alongside thousands of others that have no idea they are really gigantic enclosed ecosystems. Number 9. The Neanderthal Diet. New discoveries have been made involving the diet of our ancient ancestors. These discoveries are changing the way scientists look at Neanderthals, and indeed human evolution as a whole. For centuries, Neanderthals have been seen as cavemen, brutish pre-humans who bonked women over the head with clubs and dragged them back to their cave. However, this depiction is inaccurate. Recent research has shown that, contrary to popular belief, Neanderthals may have been just as intelligent as early humans. We know they created tools, buried their dead in elaborate ceremonies, and they communicated with one another. However, we still don't know if they used grunts or a vocalized language. A team of scientists from the Gibraltar National Museum recently discovered a tooth from a Neanderthal in a mysterious cave chamber from 40,000 years ago. Analysis of the tooth revealed that these Spanish Neanderthals were carnivores, eating almost nothing but meat. This is quite different from early humans who had a more mixed diet of meat and plants. Scientists believe the purely carnivorous diet may have led to their demise. While early humans were fishing, catching birds, and making salads, eating mushrooms, Neanderthals were trying to hunt mammoths and other huge game for meat. When the big game died out at the end of the Ice Age, so too did the Neanderthals. Number 8. The Unknown Queen. Egypt's most revered archaeologist, Zahi Hawass, just discovered the tomb of a previously unknown queen who lived during Egypt's New Kingdom period, between 1570 and 1069 BC. Her tomb was found along with 300 coffins, over 100 mummies, and countless other antiquities. All of this stuff was documented in 2022 at the necropolis of Saqqara. The newly identified queen was named Neith, and no one had ever heard of her before now. There is no record of the queen in the history books. Her name hasn't been found inscribed on anything, and we don't know anything about her other than that she ruled Egypt for a brief time. Zahi Hawass told Live Science that he feels amazed to be adding a new queen to the record. Even more shocking is that she had her very own pyramid. Most rulers who had their own pyramids were kings, not queens. It's also extremely hard to believe that someone important enough to have a pyramid built in their honor evaded historians for an estimated 3,500 years. And yet that's exactly what happened. Researchers are currently struggling to find out more about Queen Neith. Hopefully they will make some more shocking discoveries soon. And now for number 7. But first, it's shout-out time! Big thank you to Mike Hazel and Jerry K for supporting this channel. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe and join the Origins Explained family. Number 7. Ancient Statues in Italy. Archaeologists in Italy recently came across bronze statues from 2,000 years ago that they say could change what we know about history. 24 ancient Etruscan figures were found inside a Tuscan thermal spring, about 100 miles north of Rome. The statues were in remarkable condition, preserved as if they were carved just yesterday. Researchers believe these statues have the potential to change how historians see the transition in Italy from the Etruscan people to the Roman Empire. The Etruscans flourished in Italy, primarily in Tuscany and Umbria, for 500 years before the Roman Republic was formed around 400 BC. But historians have never really been able to put the whole picture together of how the transition happened. One of the reasons is that the Etruscans didn't leave much historical evidence behind. But now we have 24 perfectly preserved statues pulled out of the mud. All 24 are representations of figures from Roman mythology, gods like Apollo and Hygeia. Italy's cultural ministry says these statues were dumped into a body of water as offerings. Archaeologists also found over 5,000 coins, likely discarded as offerings to the gods as well. But how does this change history? It shows that the Etruscans worshipped the exact same gods as the Romans when the Republic was formed. In other words, the Etruscans and the Romans may have been the same people. It may not have been that the Romans absorbed the Etruscans, but that the Etruscans simply evolved into the Roman Republic, then the Roman Empire. Number 6. The genetic disc. There is a mysterious object that's become the source of quite a lot of controversy. The artifact is a disc made of pure black stone and carved with strange symbols. The object was allegedly investigated by the Museum of Natural History in Vienna, with scientists confirming it was built of lyddite. This is the first part of the mystery, because lyddite is a marine sedimentary rock found thousands of feet beneath the surface. Considering the disc was discovered in Colombia, nobody is really sure how the makers of it got a hold of material from the deep sea. The artifact is known as the genetic disc, and it's been estimated at about 6,000 years old. Both sides of the disc are covered in fascinating illustrations that appear to depict the development of a fetus from conception to birth. Even more mysterious is that on the outskirts of the disc, we see additional information on human genetics. It's extremely obvious that the weird pictures show processes going on inside the human body that would be impossible to know without advanced medical equipment. Even the development of a fetus was not something primitive South Americans would have known 60 centuries ago, that we know of. Some speculated the disc is a hoax, a fake artifact, but others believe it to be completely real. If it is real, it shows evidence of extremely sophisticated medical knowledge by primitive people, knowledge potentially given to them by an even more advanced race of beings. Number 5. The Crannogs. Starting around 6,000 years ago, early Neolithic humans built crannogs. These were artificial islands built on lakes or on large bodies of water. Ancient people built shoddy wooden bridges or piled up enough stones until there was an island sitting above the water level. Hundreds of these have been found throughout the United Kingdom, from North Ireland to Scotland. But because the crannogs were built on the water, they've been really difficult to study. The only way to find evidence of them is to dive down and sift through sediment. Researchers from UiT Arctic University in Norway recently found ancient DNA while searching through the rubble of an abandoned crannog in the UK. Analysis of the DNA shows something fascinating. The team took these samples from 3 crannogs in Ireland and Scotland. They radiocarbon dated the samples to about 400 BC, and they were able to tell that these sites were abandoned and reoccupied multiple times. But the real revelation was learning who lived in the crannogs. The DNA samples showed that the crannogs were not just ordinary houses, but fortresses inhabited strictly by the elite members of Neolithic society. While the measly peasants had to live on the shore, the rich built floating islands and used them as compounds. This shows that even in prehistoric times, there was always a single group of people more powerful than the rest, using their fortune to build exotic houses. In this case, artificial island compounds. Number 4. Decoding a lost language. It's been over a century that experts have tried to decipher an ancient language called Linear Elamite. It's a writing system used by the people of southern Iran about 4,300 years ago, only falling out of favor in 1800 BC. The language was discovered in 1903, but nobody was ever able to translate it. Only now has a team of scholars claimed that they deciphered sections of the ancient language, potentially changing history forever. They used cuneiform texts which have already been translated from around the same time. They were hoping there would be a link between the two ancient languages, and they were right. Researchers were able to identify 300 separate signs from linear Elamite representing vocal sounds, but they were only able to reveal a single block of text. The text reads, Puzur Susinak, king of Awan, is loved by a deity, and anyone who refuses his authority will be destroyed. This is in reference to King Puzur Inshushinak, the ruler of the kingdom of Elam around the year 2100 BC. The text appears to be a proclamation that the king was loved by a mysterious unknown god, and that anyone who challenged his authority would be killed. It's the first time a full block of linear Elamite has been translated. Number 3. The Gosford Glyphs. For decades, researchers and scientists from around the world have struggled with a series of hieroglyphs carved into a rock face in New South Wales, Australia. The reason for this struggle is that the hieroglyphs look like they had their origins in ancient Egypt. If you put the hieroglyphs found in the Brisbane Water National Park next to hieroglyphs found in Luxor, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. The hypothesis has long been that a group of Egyptians somehow made it across the world, landed in Egypt, and built a colony. If true, the implications would be astounding. It would mark the ancient Egyptians as the first great explorers, and the first to find Australia thousands of years before the Europeans. However, that's a big pill to swallow, and not everyone can accept it. The area itself is home to many Aboriginal petroglyphs that were first recorded in the 1970s. The petroglyphs are legitimate, but the hieroglyphs might not be. Egyptologists who have studied them have called them fake and have identified inconsistencies that show they were made by someone who didn't know what they were doing. However, locals and many other experts maintain the belief that Egyptians did reach Australia. One of the main theories is that an Egyptian shipwreck washed up on the Australian shore, and the few survivors didn't make it. They only left behind an undeciphered message in hieroglyphs on the rock before succumbing to the harsh environment. Number 2. White stones in Petra. Archaeologists were shocked when they made a discovery in the ancient city of Petra that could rewrite the history books. Petra, located in Jordan, is one of the most picturesque ruins in the world. Its history goes back to its founding in the 3rd century BC by the mysterious Nabateans. It was a thriving hub of trade and culture, one of the most important places on the Silk Road. Merchants from all over the globe passed through on their way to Europe or Asia with wagons loaded to the brim with spices and other goods. The Nabateans were defeated by the Romans about 2,000 years ago in 106 AD. The city suffered a great cataclysm in the 4th century AD, and that was when Petra fell into ruin. It was abandoned and never truly populated again except by shepherds roaming in the desert who used it as shelter. So now let's get to the discovery. In 2017, Dr. Tom Paradise and his team discovered huge beds of white sandstone. This was strange because Petra is home to red sandstone. The whole place is red, and there isn't any natural white stone occurring in the area. No one could figure out how the white sandstone got there. And this is where world history becomes a huge mystery. Researchers realized that based on particle size, texture, and the white sand spread across the valley, it was likely brought into the area by a flood. It may not have been an earthquake that ruined Petra in the 4th century, but a flood of biblical proportions. Number 1. Prehistoric Easter Island. New discoveries have been made on Easter Island, changing what we know about the prehistoric culture that lived there. An international team of scientists and archaeologists recently uncovered prehistoric pits filled with red pigment on Rapa Nui. This finding means that even as cultural life on the island was damaged and the ancient civilization here began to die, the people continued to produce red pigment. Red pigment was important for everything on Easter Island. They used it in rock paintings, to make petroglyphs, and to decorate their giant statues called moai. Multiple pits on the island have revealed large-scale production of the material. I'll get back to the pigment in a second. First, it's important to understand the earlier hypothesis of Easter Island. Researchers have mostly believed that they cleared all their vegetation, became way too overpopulated, and ran out of food and resources. This resulted in the sudden collapse of their society. Yet these pits were discovered over palm root casts, indicating production continued even when all the vegetation was destroyed. This proves that even after the islanders used up the majority of their resources, they continued pigment production on a massive scale. How does this change history? The discovery has rendered previous hypotheses incorrect. We see that the people here were still flourishing even after they used their natural resources between 1200 and 1650 AD. Something else must have caused the civilization to collapse, but scientists don't know what that might have been. Thanks for watching! Which of these discoveries shocked you the most? What do you want to learn more about? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon! Bye!